Let's see if this works. Does this work? Yeah, it works. All right. All right. So, hello, everyone. As the title suggests, not much going on there. A little bit restless. Um, I could adjust that camera better without screwing anything up. Maybe. That's a little better. There we go. Mm. So, yeah, it's been pretty interesting the last few weeks there with the quantum power cells, that's for sure. And it had me not be able to sleep in the last few days because, you start thinking of all of the possibilities and then my mind just keeps going and going. So, yeah, just a quiet night here, and maybe I may as well talk about it. Maybe somebody here eventually will know, maybe a remedy or something. But one long story short, folks, is I've been having a hard time sleeping in the last month or so. Maybe you can see it in my eyes sometimes in some of the videos I've been doing. And what's happening is, on and off throughout my life, I guess it's hereditary. We have the ringing in the ears, it can get really, really annoying, but I got used to that, and the noise is like, static to me, and I can usually sleep through it. But what's different in the last month is the ringing. It's very bad at night, thus making me, hard time falling asleep. And it's different. It's a high tone, like that high pitched engine noise, but more than I've ever heard before. And every ear, well, is like a different high pitch frequency. So I never had that before, where it's two high frequencies, but obvious, I could tell they're a different pitch. So that gets really annoying because if you understand, like, the brainwave entrainments with the brain waves and whatnot, it's almost like a simulated version of that where one wave and another, it's like Tom Bearden's pulsing a non-linear material, right, which happens to be my brain in this case, and there's like a third frequency that shows up, and that can sometimes get very orienting, the feeling of it anyways, and then I can't sleep, I can't focus, I can't concentrate. I end up being up all night and then catching up on some sleep in the middle of the day for a few hours. So that's what's been going on lately. And to make things even more annoying with that, I hear like tones and beeps through it, like a digital data stream of some sort. So I don't know if it's the progression of, what I had all my life, but it's freaking annoying anyways. So last week I tried earplugs. That just makes it worse. That just amplifies the buzz and the hum. So I just have, I keep the fans on at night and try and override it as much as I can. So, it is what it is, I guess. We all get old, right? So with that, trying to figure out what to do next here. So many possibilities, right? If everybody follows what I've been showcasing here lately with the quantum energy cells. Pulsing circuits, switching circuits, and then everything else I want to eventually get back into, the Don Smith stuff is really fascinating if you understand it. It's basically Bedini on steroids, and a little bit of reminiscences of the old day magnetic amplifiers. Really fun stuff if you're into the old radio stuff. So I'd like to get back into that at some point here if I could. I'm just looking behind here. Oh, it says good. I got a good deal on this Teflon tape. More ideas with electrodes. What's fun with the Teflon, if you do the research, you don't actually have to it has similar properties to the PEG electrolyte and capacitance as a dielectric anyways, because it can retain those molecular dipoles without heating and cooling. So technically, in theory anyways, you could build very thin plates of this and capacitors, and they should, I don't know to what degree, if it even will work, project for a rainy day, I guess. They could exhibit electret properties without the superheating and supercooling effect. So kind of like the first half of what my quantum cells are doing, trying to see if I could maybe replicate some of the effects. So that's why I had the idea of the Teflon tape here. So that'll be interesting to try. And unfortunately, I only have one piece of carbon conductive felt left. So some people from time to time ask if they can support my research. Well, if anyone wants to order me some highly conductive carbon, I'd be more than happy with that right now, actually. It takes forever to ship and find, by the way. I think a few of the followers have already figured that one out. Not as common as one would think, because it's to build, fuel cells and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I don't expect a lot of people on here this late randomly. I don't announce if I'm going to go live. It's just I have no specific category, and I just feel like talking right now. So here we are, and I've got a big mess here to clean up. I've got so many cells here, I'm not sure where to start placing them all here without breaking everything. They all have unique properties. I know mostly from memory what is what, but at some point there, I did in a comment, I've got to start documenting more, because I'm going to lose track of everything here. Oh, the cement one is holding up really good. Press on that now, no cave. Oh, that's hard. That's cured. It's cured and dried. I'm curious if it still has a potential today. I'm going to test that right now. This is one of the cement cells, by the way, and people were scrutinizing me over it, Oh, well, nothing new there. People make cement batteries, and I guess I used the wrong term, right? I'm talking about cement cell as a solid state, completely dried electrolyte. I mean, it's pretty obvious that in its paste form, like anything else that's wet, you'll have traditional galvanic action. So I was getting some troll posts scrutinizing me, nothing new, it's just science, blah, 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 without realizing anything about the PEG electrolyte and what it does and its effects that I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks or so, just to be, I guess, smart. You try and make these comments, so I'm just trying to clear that out, that on cement I mean not an insulator, not a paste, but an actual completely hardened, just something I wanted to try, if it could somewhat help shielding the making it more solid, because this stuff here it breaks easily. Even though it's a crystalline, it's more like a salt-like structure on its own. So my logic was simply, make them more brick-like, That's all it was. It wasn't to start a whole, controversy here on traditional galvanic actions. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look it up online. In engineering, when they build buildings and concrete, they have to take in consideration what kind of metal they're going to use. So while the cement actually cures, you don't end up with galvanic corrosion, weakening your structure. And, depending on what you have to use, what mix to add, what additives and what not to neutralize the effect altogether. So, again, I understand there's nothing new there, but I guess some people didn't understand. That's not the point I was trying to show, but I guess that's what it came off as. So, my apologies for that. Always got to specify everything. People make a big deal out of a slight mishap in terminology, and oh my goodness, you're the stupidest person on earth. Oh, Lord. What are we going to do with this life? So what else goodies do I have here? Oh, I never talked about this before. This is my something I've been working on for a while, actually. It's still in the works. It's my replication of my attempt, anyways, at the Mr. Moran's, what is it called? Hyperdrive. And what I got here is a three-phase generator, very similar configuration as the washing machine motor here. Got all my magnets on this plate here. And I've actually got a three-phase output. And what's interesting is I wanted to take his concepts, and you know how I am, right? Always wanting to simplify everything. I'm going to try and get closer here to show you this. It's pretty cool. And there's a hard drive motor, which is the drive, which is three-phase. That's why I have my wires here. But just like Mr. Morin, in the resonant controller was the magic box, right? So along with some help, and I don't know if I have it here, but I have a controller for that, which I have to program. It's the ECS controllers for the drones, which automatically essentially tune the system to its resonant point, or any coils, two coils with center taps. So three-phase systems, anything you want to, even for loading, you can do anything. But it's nice that it has like this auto tune, but it needs the pilot control tone. So it's usually the servo that comes with the drone to test your ECS controller. I'm trying to got a few of the Arduinos and a few small ones, trying to make a program to use less energy. But that's just something, I never fully, another project in the sideline, but he seemed to have good results with it, and it's a highly resonant system. So it's not a project for just one rainy day, that's for sure, but I guess I got the first half of it built, miniaturized version. I mean, I don't know how many watts I could get out of it, but probably like, I'd say 25 or so, easy. Just a miniature, obviously. I just like proving concepts and experimenting with things, if everyone knows me by now. All right, how's the stream going? Oh, it's working at least. It's working. So one of the reasons I don't like going live is the way YouTube indexes it. It doesn't show it in my regular feed. You have to go on live. So how many people actually go into a channel? Wonder what Joel did this month in live, right? So unless you get the notification, I think I don't know. I don't know how YouTube propagates live feeds. Honestly, I don't. Someone's writing something. Yeah, Don Smith, good evening. I hope your projects go well. Hey, everyone. Yeah, I actually got my laptop here so I could actually interact with everyone tonight. So open discussion, not announced, whatever. Let's see now. I got to clean it all up here. I can't even work no more. I've got these cells. There's another cement one, which is nice. I guess at least the important part is I get it, and that's what's important. I try to share everything I can as much, but I can't scream till I get red in the face and then choke, right? I mean, the material is all there. It's up to the people to. But it's very interesting because I got a mixture of, some of them are conditioned as electrodes, some of them are left alone, some of them have varying compositions, anything from cement to copper oxide to electrolyte squirt. I'm telling you, I tried everything I could possibly think of that in theory could introduce additional interactions, and just taking measurements on the fly and noticing, the results. So it's my way of doing it, anyways. And I gotta clean this up. This is the magnet. I gotta cut this somehow. I don't think I have it in my arms to do that with a hacksaw. Maybe go see mom and dad. They don't live in town and they're getting older too, so I don't want to bother them too much. Well, it sucks how life. Everybody gets oboes and we get old and then we die. So I may as well do something good while you're here, right? Information never dies, so you'll die, but at least your contributions, your information, your findings, it'll help somebody when you're gone for sure, right? So that's my importance in putting everything out there. There's going to be an archive of YouTube someday, maybe in 100 years even. So what will they be thinking watching that? So how's the conversations going here? How are you? Hey, are you sure? No, I'm a little bit younger. Unless you want to consider my time machine worked, and I lost about 40 years on my trip back. If it works well, it could be the answer to the small. Oh, cool. Pyramid. Yeah, voltage outputs. It all depends, right? I don't have the molding, but next thing you know, maybe start a GoFundMe page or something for a 3D printer. Because I need to build moldings for these cells. And just like any other cells, you can stack these and you'd get more perfect symmetry, right? Instead of, some people already mentioned this. I don't know specifically what it's called, but well, there must be a technical name for it, but in all, you take two batteries here and you put them in series, plus minus, the output is going to be equal to the battery with the less current. So that's easy to control with traditional batteries, just use the same batteries, right? But when you're playing with varying cells, literally every cell I build here is a slight variant. So as soon as you start putting, 4 or 5 of these in series, you basically lose your current output, which, is no big deal if you're looking for pure potential. But if I want to use this as a trigger, in the coil, there might just not be enough oomph to get it there, if you know what I'm saying. So I would like to experiment, especially with the cement, especially once it's fully dry, and it's hard. It could be literally a brick, right? You can drop it, essentially. Hopefully it won't crack, but you get my idea. It's, who knows, but you could always put more cells in one molding and stack and have a more uniform, perfect flow so the current spreads out evenly. And at least if, let's say they're 25 milliamps, well, at least you're going to get 25 milliamps at the output, right? Not the less of all of the series. I mean, look at this. So much difference in geometry here. You can't. I'm experimenting right now the different electrolyte compositions and what they do, their capacitive effects, their reactive effects, their you name it, and just taking notes towards a final product would be like wafers that are all shaped. For these cells, you got to keep the perfect symmetry. But if you do that, you're good game. So one step at a time. One step at a time. Let's see how the conversation's going here. Oh yeah, people typos all the time. I know, right? Especially with tablets and stuff. I do the same thing on my phone. It annoys me. I've got this old iPhone here. This is what I actually take all my videos with. And it feels like auto-correcting stuff without notifying you, and then you post something and yeah, completely different meaning by the time the other person gets the text. Sometimes it sounds like you're asking someone out and it's it's asking for a soda at the corner store or something. And they're like, what? Oh, I hate technology sometimes. podcasts. I did a few of those. It's just be careful because some people, are trolls. So as long as they're legit, because some people love to have you on there just to shame you, right, and give you some traditional circuit analysis, and you're like, I'm not a power supply expert. Why are you showing me a power supply? Uh, but yeah, it's cool. I have a lot of those inquiries, believe it or not. I get emails every few days, and I don't know why. A lot of people are curious, and I'll say, "What's up?" And it's like they want me to get a hold of them after. They're like, "Oh, we want you for a show or something," and email email us. Well, I mean, you called me, so you tell me what's up. I'm not just gonna randomly put myself out there, without any information, anyways. So, it could be a prank or something or a setup, especially in this field. Mm. What this group Joel something and I well straight up no shame. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just mumbling here as I read small text here, so it's like trying to read it. So let's see here. Oh, what do I have? I keep thinking of throwing out all these old coil setup that I use for one of my one wire systems, but I like recycling everything for future projects, but it's the room. It's the room. No, we don't want to end up hoarding either. So, oh, here's an interesting thing I pulled out, which is really, really cool. Hardly anyone has this. It comes from a Motorola. I had the whole thing. I took it apart. It was a prototype. It says sample only on there from Motorola. When they were building their clothes, there was the what am I trying to say? The early power supplies, which were inductive based. So early on, basically enhancement of the magnetic power supplies, and this thing was big because it was all inductive, switching. So these switches here, very powerful as you can see, and it was configured in a push-pull configuration switch, and this was feeding a bunch of induction coils, and what happens is this is really old stuff, but if you have a lot of inductance at a certain frequency, and there was a controller here, you get a what looks like a very rough DC. And they actually made power supplies for a while, I guess, for their two-way systems. And I got my hands on one of these sample units from an actual prototype that Motorola showed off before production. I don't know if you can see that. But there's the label here that says sample only and the Motorola project number. So a little bit of history to this, and something I wanted to use because if you look it up, it's a special Motorola switching transistors, and they handle insane amount of currents. So I always said, you know what? If I want to build a spaceship one day, maybe this will be part of the controller. So yeah, I like keeping a lot of stuff, a lot of old stuff too, because they have their unique properties. Spell checker, yeah, gotta love spell checker. Yeah, the old stuff, especially the magnetic amplifiers and the vacuum tubes. I got a bunch here, you see. There's a lot of, I have a whole box actually. All kinds of vacuum tubes. I've got a box full of them because sometimes when you need to build oscillators like Joule thief circuits, what's really cool about the vacuum tubes is they can handle the inductive kickbacks if you don't load it. They'll just go, what? and you can just direct it to somewhere else in the circuit, an inductive load or something, light a lamp that'll actually, if the circuit allows you for it, like they did in the primitive days. So there's kind of like hidden secrets that are not so secret. It's just you can't do that with electronics today, right? It's the same thing with the old day AM transmitters that were like thousands of watts, and all they had to do is magnetically couple with a big coil the AM live antenna, which is just a big tower live, magnetically coupled with a loop around. No special care for tuning, resonance, or anything. Just whatever happens to couple. So can you imagine in RF the SWR factor that comes back, where you maybe have 2 or 3% efficiency, but because it was AM radio, even if it's 300 watts output for 3,000 watts, you're still covering your whole community. But the stuff just got a little hot. Meanwhile, any transistor would blow up to smithereens, a million pieces like a grenade. So in the old days, you didn't have to worry about tuning and resonance so much because of the equipment. But with that said, with all the canceling fields, it generated a lot of scalar waves in the old days. And the scalar wave interaction in part was what helped the Moray systems work, because you were immersed in a swoosh of all of this. It was a standard for a while, But we can't do that anymore for obvious reasons. But it was some interesting times anyways, and there are a lot to learn about the primitive, especially if you get into regenerative feedback. As in the traditional, it doesn't mean anything, but it's in the word feedback, right? So yeah, food for thought, definitely. Yeah, I used to have a whole tube tester when I was about 16 years old. The TV shop, gave it to me because they weren't doing that anymore. It was all in his attic, trip to the dump. And I got a whole box of them. I was so happy. But unfortunately, at that age, I didn't know what to do with them. I didn't know circuitry enough. All I could do is put a battery and find the light on here and see, look, it glows. But that's kind of a waste of energy at this point if you're going to run your tubes as light bulbs. Hey, I think I got an idea for the steampunk people. You want to build lamps? Use something that give it a complete useless usage. It glows but doesn't do anything. Yeah, at least it glows, right? It's a night light. Takes a lot of energy. 6 volts, high amperage, but hey, it'll work. Yeah, so what I want to do next with these quantum cells. Oh yeah, I'd like to eventually, but the problem is, if I don't have a method of building identical setups, it's almost pointless finding a sweet spot of frequency and advertising that, right? And telling everyone it's 19 hertz. Well, maybe this one is, but who knows what this one is, right? So I got to eventually standardize the symmetry here. That's the next step, because too many variables with all of this stuff. But that's just for me. It's giving me an idea of what I can and what I can't do. And I like the kickback effect a lot that I've been talking about. That could be harnessed. You set up multiple cells that are exactly the same. You strategically pulse them at near zero current. Bam, 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 bam. You have like 50 of these cells, tiny cells, all strategically, one kickback after the other into a common node, and really quickly accumulate those current pulses. So yeah, one step at a time. And then there's John. My goodness, John. Telling you he's quite the interesting person with all of his hidden knowledge, let's just say. Um, he knows what he's talking about. Been around, that's for sure, too, with all this stuff and the peak of it all when they had all the engineers and the tube stuff. So he's been a help, too, in the background and all this. Very interesting person. Interesting life. Had his fair share of trolling too. But like all people, we all get older, we all get bobos, and we all, everyone's efficiency drops after a while. But good information out there, and he was one of the nicer ones. I think he released as much as he could without getting himself in trouble, rather than keep it all to raise your ego, right? But a lot of people don't get him. They don't understand. They get angry at his discovery video. I know what that's all about, but people will scrutinize and judge no matter what. I mean, you have to understand. I mean, it's TV. I mean, of course, there's going to be a prop. That's what they do in every science show. You think they're going to go into a live nuclear facility that there could be a danger to demonstrate a science concept? No, you're going to prop it and demonstrate it as a prop. This is show business, and Discovery isn't going to make a documentary on John if they think they're not going to get a viewership. So, to them, at the end of the day, it's a business, it's television, and they need to make it captivating. But with that said, the information was valid. 20 some years later, you can't just, some equipment, it goes missing or breaks down. You can't replicate it on the spot. You can't find the parts no more. Can't manipulate that voltage you need with today's transistors. So to say 20 years later, okay, replicate this experiment, the best you can do is give all the data, obviously, and but I don't bother John too much with that part of it. I understand, and people, there's a wire on there, and there's a wire on there. If you understand the theory, and I mean, they experimented with all this in Los Alamos. I mean, the military knows all about this. They got their own. They actually classified John's information after they got their hands on it. So, guy's not lying. So yeah, very interesting stuff. Yeah, let's see now. Oh, there's actually 5 people watching in the middle of, well, for me here, I don't even know what time it is. Oh, it's almost 11 o'clock. Not bad. It's just my coffee keeping me all hyper here. Plus my findings, I can't sleep because I'm thinking about, okay, if I post them like this, and this is pretty good, just as is, but the fact that they send you back a really strong, like more current pulse output with just the trigger, that's really interesting. That could really be exploited and maximized somehow. I'm still plotting in my mind here, what kind of switching I could use for it. But yeah. So like I said, at some point I want to run, you know what? I'm curious. I think I'm going to try and run a sweep right now just to see what happens. So I'm going to connect this. I keep remembering which one's my electron donor and which one's my electron giver here. So the carbon is on this side here, so that becomes the plus. The negative is the metal plate, which is the electron donor. There we go. Let's see if the cell, so reverse polarity, let's see if it works tonight. Minus the plus, so plus is over here. And let's see. Yeah, there's that pulse. See that? And sometimes, it's weird. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes it gets into self oscillations, which is really weird. But again, with just there it is. There was 2 there. This is really crazy. Like Okay, so we know it's working with that. I did all that yesterday. So now let's try and I just remembered this is a switch, right? Duh. All I have to do is bypass the Bedini coil and pulse the cell instead of the coil, right? That would make sense without really. Okay, so how do I? This is like a brain fart spontaneous idea here. I don't know if I should do that because I don't want to screw up all my wires here. Then I won't remember without looking at a diagram how everything goes. Okay, so there's my. I know what I'm doing here. This is the coil pulse, so this would be the negative, which becomes the positive. So I'm going to disconnect my negative, and the negative will go ahead and connect to our cell's positive, just like that. And now I got to find my positive. Coil's positive. Disconnect the coil. Okay. Connect my. Oh, sorry, this is the negative. What am I doing here? Am I screwing up? Something's not right. So this is the negative that comes positive that I plugged. Okay, so no. I'm assuming it's already positive. That's what I did here. Ah, too late tonight to work. Okay, so this is actually the negative pulse. What am I thinking? I'm thinking the after effect here. Once the spike comes back. No, 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 no. We're not pulsing a coil here. Now my wire broke. That's because I'm just spontaneous. I'm not ready for this. I'm just. What's the saying? Curiosity killed the cat. I just want to know. Let's see here. I know him from the oven conditioning. I'm just reading the comments here, making sure. Okay, so conversation's going well. Nothing too. I'm not trying to ignore anyone here. It's just I literally can't read what's on the screen, even though it's like 3 feet away from me. All right, so what I was trying to do here. Okay, so this is my negative, negative, negative. So this is my negative here. So I got a plus the. So the positive has to go into the negative. And the problem I have here is there's going to be an isolation issue because the cell puts out its own energy here. Should I use a diode for that? Um, let's see here. So this is the negative. Negative. This is the real negative. And this is the real plus, I guess. Something to me feels like I got it wrong just out of my own. So I have a minus on this side here. That's right, because it's the minus of the capacitor. So I pulse the minus side and it becomes plus here with the diode. So the minus. Oh, okay, I see what I did wrong. I used the capacitor to charge and pulse the capacitor into the. Okay, that's why. So I don't want to do that right now. Yeah, I guess it might be more complicated because I have that capacitor there. Forgot about that. I don't want to bypass that because it's wired in there. What can I do here real quickly? Just don't want to screw anything up. There's my negative down there, which charges the negative, and this would be the plus. This would be the plus right here, I guess. I'll have to double check that. All right, what's everyone saying here? I'm sorry, I'm getting like lost in my own little. Okay, everything is fine. All right, so what I want to do is. So here, which was the plus, I was measuring that. Okay, move that one. So negative goes into negative. And where's my. No, it's just what happened is it's been a while now, and it's because I got that capacitor there, and I don't want to screw up my. I had another switch here. I have like 14 of these. I don't need to take that apart. I really don't want to do that. It's all glued in there, and my wire lengths are all. I know what I want to do. It's so simple, but I don't have something on the spot here. I don't want to. Experimentation is the life of science, and I love it. Yeah, for sure. Sometimes you want to do something on the spot here, and then no, not organized. So, why did I want to do this for? Because I want to see if what happens at a different frequency. Because I got so many wires here, I don't want to screw anything up. So this is my power supply input. Plus and minus, but here's plus and there's the minus. So this is my super caps. So that's connected. So when I plug this in, that runs the switch. Okay, so where's the plus? What did I do here? So there's the plus over here. But it's not plugged in, so I don't know if I can easily bypass that. So there's the there on the code. Because there's the charging right there. Charging negative, it all goes there, right? Just gonna try real quick. See if I could reuse this switch without modifying it too much here, because I don't want to spend all night building another switch just to pulse the battery. Reusing. Okay, so minus is here. Do I assume plus is there? So where did I put my plus? Because I'm just running the switch. The other one is. Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. I'm just trying to figure out how I could resurface my Bedini controller right here because it does its own thing, right? So right now it's basically switching nothing because power inputs are not there. But how can I, without, real quick here, I really want to try this because I'm just curious. Instead of the coil, well, it's because I had the capacitor and everything there, and I took my wires are. So I'm just trying to figure out what I need to modify. So I've got the switch pulsing the negative side. So, oh, that's why, because duh, I don't have an external power source here. There's the battery. Let's plug the battery in there. Negative of the battery. That'll make more sense. It was like, what? And the plus of the battery connects to our negative. So the negative would be over here. And the pulse negative goes to the plus. There we have it. Oh, late at night, right? This one right here. Put the back on there. So on down like that. So we shouldn't be switching because it's off. So I don't know if the wiring is right here. This is really quick. I'll find out. Is the scope connected? Yeah. All right, this is 1% trigger. Let's go let's bring up the trigger here. Oh, that's working, kind of. I just gotta, everything's loose here. Just want to see real quick. Okay, there we go. The trigger. That's too fast. I gotta bring my frequency down. There we go, we're tuning it. Oh shit, you see that? I don't know if you can see what's going on my scope there, folks. You're getting a perfect sine wave right now out of a pulse. Let's see. You can do funky things with this. So, I was going to say it doesn't respond to 1, it's set to 0. So a 1% trigger pulse is not quite enough. 2%, I'm starting to see something. Just messing around here, finding sweet spots. And it's the capacitors running the switch, by the way, if you're wondering why nothing's plugged in. Yeah, right here the output wave is thicker and more sustained than the trigger. So there it is, peak to peak, 14.4. So this is not the inductive kickback system. This is something else. This is like the kind of like the barium ferrite effect. You get a reverse kickback at much more. And what's interesting is I noticed the sharp pulse and the bigger width on the output spike. It's not a traditional inductive kickback style at all. Huh. So imagine like a bunch of these cells doing this strategically at the right time. It's a weird wave. The trigger is flat, but the output rings. It's hard to show on the camera, but right till the next cycle, there's like internal oscillations. It's like a really high frequency ringing after the main spike comes back, and then it subsides like a dampening oscillation. No, this is live, folks. I mean, I never did this test. You know, I speculated about it on my last video just based on what I saw. So it was not a far reach to say, run it on a switch and you'll get the same effect. Which, there it is. So I gotta find a way to, some, are suggesting, which I'm thinking of, integrate the coil system and the back EMF with this, and there's potential for something really interesting here, that's for sure. See, folks, this is why I can't sleep at night anymore. It's like when you see this happening, like it really gets the mind going. Let's monitor the conversation here I've been neglecting. Okay, so I didn't miss any direct questions or anything, so that's good. So yeah, by the way, the switch is running just to show you, you don't need to have a switch that eats up so much energy. I mean, this thing runs off capacitors, so it's definitely not the switching that's going to be the energy waste. I could probably run it off of traditional lead batteries if I were that diehard in the summertime. Stack the whole backyard. What's very strange is the oscillations are varying. Sometimes I notice as we're talking, there's a double ring. Sometimes there's just a one ring. but nothing's changing at the input pulse. So that's kind of weird. Just noticing that now, actually. Every kickback is slightly different. And they all have a different peak, but the trigger remains the same. It's interesting and curious. Must be something going on within the lattice of the structure of the electrolyte or something. The dielectric resonance or some exotic form of interactions. Mm. So, since I'm not doing anything with this, I may as well kill that project now. No more switching. See that though? I got like 2, 3 pulses after I killed it. So that's odd. It has a 10. It wants to self-oscillate. That would take a lot to feed back and keep going with such minimal circuitry. I can feel it, just based on what it's doing there. Of course, it's always better to run to control your feedback and trigger, but if we could do it very easily with no circuitry, a few capacitors, and ping pong bounce, that would be pretty good too. So yeah, I still got to figure out here. I'm gonna have to find some boxes with, like the gift wrapping and label all the cells what they are in their box, secure, so that I don't break them up, and I can keep testing them throughout the. And interestingly enough, this cell here is like one of my first ones, so it's going like, I'd say over 2 weeks old. And it happens to be the one that exhibits the strongest effects. The two others, this one here and this tiny one here, do the same thing at different degrees. Now, all of these ones here, nothing. But they still put out a voltage, but they don't respond to the spike. These are my cement batteries, which I want to I'm getting good voltage, over 1 volt with this, but very dry, very, very dry. But to avoid scrutiny, I want to wait like a couple weeks and say, look, still working. How do you like me now? No, I shouldn't jump to conclusions, right? Sometimes only time will tell. But I got a good feeling because I did a special composition, which could probably make up for once the moisture is all gone. So we are keeping an eye on that. Nothing to hide here, folks. Just putting it out there so I don't get accused of leaving it out there. I'm not interested in water galvanic cells right now. I'm trying to make sure all of these are dried out, but I know this one's dried from the inside out. I mean, I can't even break that. And these ones here are all dry to a crystal-like. See, this is what it looks like. It's almost like salt, like a salt block. That's what it looks like. Oh, something else curious. I don't know if it's just me, but you actually I don't know. Sometimes it's like you get a bit of an electrostatic effect when you touch with the two of them, It's like a small tingle. Very, very electrostatic. You don't get the spark or anything, but if you've got really sensitive tips, so you actually feel something, which I thought was pretty interesting. Wouldn't want to do that with 1,000 stack of them, but Yeah, so let's see now. Yeah, I already covered my hyperdrive. Maybe that's just one big wet dream. I don't know. I still haven't figured out Mr. Moore. Was he legit? Was he fake? Some of the stuff he said really made sense. Maybe he was just driven nuts. Who knows? But some good ideas. But I'm not fussing on trying to prove his ideas either. I got my own goals, but very interesting stuff all over, right? I mean, if I had the resources, I'd test everything I see, but you can't always do that. Uh, it is what it is. Tesla coil experiments. I got so many things I want to try, not just in free energy. I've got ideas in anti-gravity, multi-dimensional phasing, but all that stuff requires, I basically need John's lab, the old stuff. Yeah, something that could withstand, a couple of kilowatts of inductive kickback, that sort of thing. And phasing those currents at high frequency. Yeah, lots of fun. Fun. I know all the theory. I know how it all works. It's just I don't have the lab for it. I even told John, I've got my own ideas. If I had your lab, here's what I'd do. But yeah, it's all fun, right? Got to do something in life besides being miserable. Lots of that. No need, no help for, no need help for that. So with that said, I guess it's what time is it? Oh my goodness, 11:20. I should stop talking to neighbors. I'm gonna start complaining. You got such a big mouth tonight. Doesn't stop. I'm telling you, that's too much coffee. I gotta cut down on the coffee. Keeps me tweaked all night. Alrighty, so with that said, I'm gonna say goodnight to everyone. Well, depending what time it is where you're watching, and we'll see how YouTube archives this session. So it was a lot of interesting conversations, and it is what it is, and interesting stuff. And I'm going to ponder on all this tonight. So have yourselves all a great day, folks. Enjoy, good night, whatever.